Yuji and Mahito finally met, with Mahito cowering in fear in front of Yuji, with Yuji also meeting the Kalyan god introduced by Maru in this chapter, with them having a plan of eradicating all cursed energy. And the craziest part, Mahoraga begins to adapt to Dabura'S existence, his very existence, as the wheel goes crazy and begins adapting hundreds of times per second as Dabura activates his final move, his domain expansion. This chapter was just insane. There's so much to talk about, so let's just get right into it. Be sure to leave a like on the video, it helps out so much. Thank you very much. And of course, if you haven't already, you should subscribe for a ton of consistent and quality JJK Modulo content just like this. If you love JJK Modulo, I promise you, you're not gonna regret subscribing. But without further ado, let's just start. I'll take this from page 1 all the way until the end. The beginning portions of this chapter are actually related to Tsumiki. Wow, I can't believe I said Tsumiki. Tsurugi, and even Maki appears in this chapter. So the first part is a flashback, with Maki saying, "Tsurugi, you are a lot like me." Really? Yeah, losing strength can become, or I guess I should say losing something can become your strength. This is pretty much foreshadowing, I guess not foreshadowing, but reverse foreshadowing of Tsurugi losing Rika and gaining strength. But that kind of strength is a double-edged sword, so be careful. It's a story about how living things leave behind things that matters too. When you seek power, don't throw away things you never needed to lose. And he says, yeah, and you can see Maki, as you'll notice in this chapter, has deep regrets about the way JJK went. So she actually regrets how she carried out all of JJK and even what ended up happening to Mai. As she says, and I'll continue, "I had a younger sister." Tsurugi answers, "I know, Mai is my grandma, right?" Maki continues, "Thanks to Mai, I became stronger, but truly, did I need to become strong?" Maki says, "Even if I weren't here, even if Mai hadn't died, someone might have done something, might have fixed it." And we can see one egg is broken while another one didn't hatch, basically foreshadowing like Mai died and Maki lived. And I just really disagree with Maki here, because she's basically saying, oh, someone else would have done something. No one was gonna fix it. I mean, Toji literally did what Maki is saying she regrets doing. Like Maki says maybe someone else would have done it, and Toji went the same route as in what Maki's regret. And with Toji's route, nothing changed. The Zenin clan was still horrible. As a matter of fact, it became worse, and then abuse that happened to Mai and Maki still happened. Nothing would have fixed. So I think Maki was completely right, honestly, but I understand her regrets. Honestly, I relate on a very personal level. You know, I'm just reviewing this, so I won't talk about myself so deeply, but you know, I've had a lot of loss, especially when my best friend killed himself, and for years, I always thought, you know, maybe I could have done this, maybe I could have done that, like maybe things could have been different, even though I tried so hard. So I'm just trying to say, I actually understand why Maki may think this way. Even though we can see an outside perspective, like, there's nothing she could have done, and she actually did the best thing, you just can't help but just look back in the past and think, maybe I could have done that, maybe it could have been this. And she admits so later on. She says, now I can say, yes, it was a sweet, naive fantasy. Even so, I keep wondering if we could have chosen a future where Maya's here. Not a day goes by that I think about it. Honestly, very tragic. You can see Maki's tears actually fall on the grass below, and even Tsurugi, the little kid, is beginning to cry, saying, "Grandma, please don't cry." And he says, "Please don't cry." It cuts back to reality where Maru is crying at the same time. Very poetic, incredibly poetic, like visual storytelling, just beautiful story paneling from Gege, and of course Yuji with the fantastic art. As Tsurugi gets cut down in the next page, yes, he literally gets sliced right down, a very deep cut, and Maru, still crying, is holding him, saying, "But what?" And then the next page, Maru says, if he'd followed through with that swing, Tsurugi would have won. Why'd you let go of the sword? Tsurugi says, "I don't know, but somehow I just felt it was wrong after all. I felt like a future where I won this way wouldn't be right. This isn't about right or wrong. Wasn't this all for Yuka?" You know, that's what Maru screams to. And then Tsurugi answers, "So yeah, I don't know either, damn it. I'm only 17, pulling the I'm a minor card, like the ultimate card that you just can't beat, like just saying, you know, I'm a minor, you can't beat that, like it's actually unbeatable." And one thing I have to say, like jokes aside, this is very beautiful. I saw someone say this online and it's honestly sums it up so well. Maru and Tsurugi's fight has no purpose. There is absolutely no purpose. Whether Maru wins or Tsurugi wins, nothing changes. Like the aliens don't leave if Tsurugi wins or Maru wins. Literally nothing changes. They're just fighting because they feel frustration. They feel a bent and pent up anger. They want to vent it out. Maru feels deep frustration and anger that Cross is dying and he can't save him. And Tsurugi feels exactly the same with Yuka, and it's almost like they're letting out that rage, that pent up aggression against each other. This fight doesn't serve any practical purpose. What it does serve is them letting out their emotions and them releasing those emotions, and even it's just character development. Like this whole fight between them is solely for their characters and character growth, like just for that, which is honestly amazing, and it's what we're witnessing here for both of them. Where Tsurugi like lets him get cut down, and he says, after he says, "I'm only 17," in the next page, page 5, "I don't understand anything anymore. What am I supposed to do?" as he loses consciousness. One thing I want to say is, in my spoiler video, I made a big assumption where I was like, you know, oh my god, Tsurugi just died and something like that. Honestly, that's just on me. I jumped the gun very fast. Like, I'm not gonna make any excuses. I really jumped it way too fast. And I had the translations as well, and I still said that. The reason I say otherwise now is because people are saying, wait, did Tsurugi actually die, Breeze? Like, can you read this again? And actually looking back, no, I kind of just assumed he died. Like, given the way he just fell to the ground and the cut was so deep, I just thought he died, honestly. But now that I look back after reading the comments, I'm like, no, actually, it's not really clear what happened to Tsurugi. Like, nobody said he died. Maru never said he died. He just kind of passes out after the deep cut. Yes, it is a very deep cut, but something I actually forgot was, now that he's fully awakened and realized, like Maki and Toji, he may, and I say this, may be able to heal from this wound because he's got the maximum heavily restricted buff, which can just give him healing properties as well. Again, he may still die, but I'm gonna be honest, I don't lean towards that at all anymore. I think he just passed out, especially considering there's some time off screen and Yuji was involved, so something happened there. So maybe even Yuji helped it. But to continue with page 5. No, that's not it. On Earth, in Japan, the ones who have been living there since long ago are Tsurugi and the others. There is a life there too. Cursed spirits are also part of that life, and what we're asking for. But then, those who had their place taken from them, those who had never had a place to begin with, what are we supposed to do? Like, this is just beautiful writing. Holy shit, with Maru crying. Basically saying, like, Maru understands Earth is the human's home and cursed spirits live there, and the alien just is coming in and making their own rules, but he's saying, like, what about the people who don't even have a home? Like, what about us whose home was stolen from us and we have no place to go? If those who were there from the very beginning are the ones in the right, then the Earth, the universe, where do they all belong? And even then, it kind of just goes back to their own homeland that was stolen from. Like, was it in the right that they were taken by their, like, other people, by the Diskunte? And even though that happened, like, does that mean they're just not allowed to find a new home? So it just shows the complexity of this issue. And Maru is just crying, saying, Tsurugi, I don't understand anything. Cross, Yuka, somebody. And we see the ghost of Rika watching on and smiling as she's watching Maru and Tsurugi resolve their conflict. And then, of course, we see the now next mothership, the alien's mothership. A massive beam of light on the top of it is glowing, and we see a Kalyan beast is there with his third eye open. This may actually confirm that the person that was talking to Maru in chapter 15-16, when the person says, pathetic, Maru, aren't you a warrior? Like, are you gonna belittle Tsurugi like that? This, again, it's not confirmed, but it seems like it's possible that the person that was talking to Maru was actually this Kalyan deity that was on board the alien's mothership. Really cool. You'll see later on why I'm gonna say this. Now, that concludes the Maru and Tsurugi section. There's 3 parts to this chapter. Now we're gonna get into the Dabura and Mahoraga section. So to continue off from what I was reading before, since this part of the Kalyan connects both the Maru and Tsurugi part, it actually interconnects it with the Dabura and Mahoraga section. Pretty good writing, actually, to connect 2 different plot lines with 1 different plot. I mean, I actually really like that. That's fantastic storytelling. So we see that from the top of the mothership, the light glows, and we see on the inside, the Kalyan god is there with the third eye open. And then we see in the next page, the light shines down on Dabura, and Dabura gets some information from this. Now, this is pretty interesting because we already saw that perhaps the Kalyan was speaking to Maru and was the one who was talking to him in chapter 15-16. Is it possible that the Kalyan is now talking to Dabura? And this makes me question, I thought the Kalyans could only talk to the people of Lumilians. Dabura is a Diskunte, and we already know that the Diskunte and other tribes of the Sumerian homeworld, because there's other tribes than just these 2, they can't actually hear or listen to the voices of the Kalyans. So I wonder, like, what is going on that Dabura can suddenly hear the voice of the Kalyan, because the light shines, and it has to be this, because the Kalyan's third eye opened and is shining on Dabura, and Dabura gets information where he says, Maru, huh? And he says, indeed, like he's answering the Kalyan talking to him. And it's like the Kalyan is whispering to him about barrier techniques, or like a domain, like just the fact that it exists. And the Kalyan says something, we don't know what it's talking about, but it tells him about Maru, it tells him about what's happened. And then Dabura says, as he's answering the Kalyan, like, Maru, huh? Indeed. So I should make that kind of barrier. And in an awesome page, behind Dabura, as he's holding an orb of darkness, is the mothership. And this is so cool. This is so cool. I mean, the page isn't drawn the greatest, I'm not gonna lie, like specifically Dabura, but it is a really cool page. And what I like even more is the next page, which is insane. We see the mothership hovering over Tokyo, and this ship is huge. Like, I knew the ship was huge, but goddamn, like, is this the size of the whole country of Japan? Or like, how big is this ship? Because it is making Tokyo City genuinely look microscopic. Like, it's making it look tiny. You can just see from a distance how huge it is, like how colossal it is. And honestly, one of the coolest backdrops for a fight is having this massive alien mothership in the background radiating this divine Kalyan light. And then Dabura says, does this exist on Earth too? As he's got the orb in his hand, and man, what's about about to happen is so crazy. Like, I talked about this on a stream, and I don't even know how I'm gonna explain this, but Dabura is like, hey, trying to communicate with Mahoraga, and it's like, honestly, the joke I see here is because Mahoraga's wheel begins to go crazy as he adapts. When Dabura says, hey, like a little joke I have is that he's trying to adapt to speech. Like, Mahoraga can't answer him. He's like trying his hardest to adapt to speaking English or Japanese or something. But to actually get into the next page, like, the wheel turns. But then in page 11, the wheel goes haywire, and I have no examples of this happening ever. Like, ever. Maybe there's an example I missed because I really spent like 10 minutes just looking through panels of like, did Mahoraga's wheel ever do this? I have never seen this. Like, this is the first time we're seeing this happen, where Mahoraga's wheel like begins turning into a literal blade. Like, it's a mini helicopter head on Mahoraga's head. And the thing is, each time the wheel turns, like a little turn, that is one adaptation cycle. It is spinning around like crazy, like rapid, meaning it is adapting like hundreds of adaptations per second. I was initially thinking like maybe this means that Mahoraga is trying to find an adaptation, but the problem is, like, even when Mahoraga is trying to find an adaptation, that's only one wheel turn. That's not hundreds. Like, each turn is a single adaptation each cycle, and he's doing like hundreds, and Dabura is like shocked. He's like, what's it starting to adapt to? Could it be my cursed energy itself? No, to my existence. Like, this is wild to me. And given Mahoraga's definition of he can adapt to any and all phenomenon, I guess that includes like adapting to a person you're fighting. And I guess like it makes sense in the progress because we've never seen Mahoraga fight this. Like, we have never seen it where first he's trying to adapt to a technique, he's adapted to Dabura's technique, then maybe he's going to try adapt to cursed energy or something, but it goes even beyond any of that, and he's literally adapting to Dabura himself, because I think Mahoraga's thinking like, I can't beat this guy, like no matter what, I've already adapted to the technique, I can't win. And maybe this is something we never saw against Gojo, because he was still adapting to Gojo. Like, he never actually finished adapting to Gojo's technique as he was fighting him. Like, he was so close to fully adapting to the red as well, but we just never got there. So crazy. Like, I've never seen this before. The best way I can explain it is maybe Yuka's binding vow is like really coming into effect. Like, maybe that's why Mahoraga's adaptation is going next level. Like, whatever binding vow, death binding vow Yuka made, that might be the reason why the adaptation has just hit steroids. Because this whole time Mahoraga's been fighting Dabura, it's been completely normal. Like, there's been no anything strange, anything extra, like no strength or speed increase. Adaptations seem to be at a normal rate this whole time. It's funny because I was talking about this in my prediction stream, like I did before chapter 21 came out, before the leaks came out itself specifically. But I was saying that, like, you know, it's so odd because Yuka made this death binding vow and there's been nothing to it. Like, there's been no bonuses. And I was even beginning to think, like, you know, maybe because Yuka was gonna die already of cancer, like the binding vow amounted to nothing. But maybe right now, I'm just guessing, we are seeing that binding vow kick in, where it's like the adaptation is just going crazy. But to adapt to somebody's very existence is nuts. Like, I get it's within the definition, but my goodness, this is crazy. And Dabura is thinking, heck, it's the first time I've ever wanted to exchange words with someone even quieter than me. Just a beautiful line, and Dabura begins to activate his domain expansion, and he's even got Hinduism and Buddhism symboling with this domain, and we see in a beautiful double page spread, domain expansion, another world of the unseen and the manas, reverse crossing. And now this is going to be the most interesting part, but there is a lot of different translations for Dabura's technique. So first I'll show Ryomen Sukuna's translation on Twitter, where he says it's defiant crossing of light and dark, also saying it's the longest domain expansion name in JJK. But then we have Roaring Knight on Twitter. So Roaring Knight is the person who's translated this whole chapter. All the translations you're reading right now was done by him, so I think he does have some credibility because he's been doing translations pretty fast as well. I give him some credibility, honest to God, so I trust this translation is saying. But he's saying, my thoughts on the translation of the domain: Yume Ikkyo Gyakuetsu. It's not light or dark, it's more cool concept, like death and life. So when you read some materials, you may see the translations as Hades, but we are reading JJK, and that's Dabura's mental space. So basically this is a reflection of Dabura's own mental space right now. It could either be life and death, it could be interpreted darkness and light, maybe a mixture of both, or different aspects of both, which makes sense given Dabura's own character and of course the light and darkness technique of his. To continue from this, the Japanese text is a 4-character idiom that means being separated by death. As for, and this Japanese letters right there, I think originally the movement is one way from another Japanese letter, but here the flow is reversed. It's not life after arriving at death, but death encroaching upon life. Death and life can work too. What this means is it's not like life is happening after death, but just simply, I'm repeating it, death is basically consuming and coming after life, which actually fits in with Dabura's light technique, maybe the light aspect, you know, light, and then after that is the darkness. So this domain, I think, is going to be the thing that's going to destroy Mahoraga. Then Yuji's going to step in, but it very likely, with the name given, is going to combine the light and darkness and is going to create something even deadlier than the Hollow Purple Edition. Now we get into page 13, into the Yuji Maru Mahito section of the video. Now, I'm going to be honest, before I even read this, this is very confusing because there is a time jump, and and we don't know what's happened. We don't know how much time has passed, but it seems like the Kalyan is no longer in the same place that we saw the Kalyan a few pages before, where they were sitting on the top of the alien mothership. And this room is very strange as well. There is two different theories as to what's happening. Either A, Maru and the Kalyan both combining with the combination of the mothership. The technique and harmony is basically pulling in Yuji and Maru's soul, or physically pulling them into the cursed realm and the life between, and that's where all three of them are right now, because we do see Mahito later in this chapter. Or B, this is a room in the alien's mothership that the Kalyan happened to move to during this time that we just haven't seen anything happen, and Yuji probably was abducted by the alien mothership because the alien mothership did go over Tokyo, and Maru found Yuji and then took him to the alien mothership, all off screen. And this is a special room in the alien mothership that strangely, for some reason, has a connection to the cursed realm. Like, it literally is connected directly to the life between humans and the after, like the cursed realm. But in any case, Yuji says, oh, could it really be a Kali? So you know, Maru says. Yuji says, I heard the general outline from Todo. And this isn't a surprise. Last chapter, we already had a confirmation that Todo was alive and in contact with Yuji. I made a whole video specifically on the Todo part, so that's nothing new. Maru's confused, saying Todo. And then Yuji says that funny guy who has a musical instrument instead of a hand, possibly implying that Todo's actually met Maru. In page 14, Maru explains that this is the longest lived Kalyan revered by the Lumilian people aboard the ship. It is actually their god. Yeah, it really does resemble a cursed spirit. It does. But of course, this isn't a cursed spirit. Like, it's clear that it's a completely different being, because if this was a cursed spirit, it would have attacked Yuji. It seems like, honest to god, Kalyans are very close to the death paintings, but if the death paintings are like 50-50 cursed spirit and human, Kalyans maybe like 60-70% cursed spirit. Like something more along the lines of Tengen. Tengen was actually the same, where Tengen was like 80-90% cursed spirit and like 10-20% human because of, after all, the aging and the evolution. The Kalyans seem to be like between Tengen and Yuji, like probably the 70% mark of like cursed spirit ratio. But they are like a physical being that exists in the physical world. They aren't spirits. It resembles a cursed spirit, but it is a physically existing creature, just like how the death paintings in Yuji are physically existing. So then Yuji is actually petting the Kalyan in the cutest age ever. Like, this is so cool. I wish I could pet the Kalyan as well. And Yuji says, so then why was I brought here? Maru says, my technique determined that you were suitable. Suitable for what? And Maru is just thinking, and this is funny because right here we find out that Maru actually got the ring from Tsurugi. Like, he actually picked the ring up and took it from Tsurugi, meaning A, he slimed Tsurugi and like killed him, or if not killed him, like put him on the brink of death, and then stole his like family heirloom's ring. And yeah, I'm just joking, of course, but it's just funny when you try and look at it that way. But what Maru is doing, and again, things have happened off screen, so I think it could even be possible that Yuji came after the fight happened, and Yuji may have even healed Tsurugi and not let him die, and maybe even Tsurugi consented to giving the ring. We just don't know. Like, something happened off screen, which frustrates me a lot. I get where we want to end this in a few chapters, but I hope we at least cut back to what happened, because like, I wish we had seen Yuji meeting Maru. I wish we had seen Tsurugi talking to Yuji, maybe being upset for him for letting like Yuka fight Dabura. Like, that's stuff that I really wanted to see. So it's a shame that all of it was off screen. But Maru continues, saying the cursed energy of Tsurugi and Yuka's grandfather, the Muru that composes the Now Next. By combining that along with my technique and his technique, I want to begin harmony between the Earthlings and the Sumerian people. And it's interesting, when he says his technique, is he referring to Cross, who has the same technique as him? Or Rika, I guess her technique, like the ring? Or is he even referring to the Kali? Or even Yuji's blood manipulation? What's most likely is his technique in this case is Mahito, because we know what's going to happen later on, but he's basically saying he's going to combine the Muru that makes the mothership, the cursed energy from Yuka and Tsurugi's ring that comes from Yuta, and Mahito's technique is basically what's going to create a harmony between the Earthlings and the Sumerian people. And I want to say, this is just proving my point once again that Maru and Cross have the greatest technique in all of Jujutsu Kaisen. I'm not saying the strongest, but it is just the most special grade technique we have ever seen. Like, it created this mothership using the Muru rock. That's not something anybody could do. This one technique alone, this harmony curse technique coming from like two people, one person, doesn't matter, is responsible for 50,000 aliens being able to talk to all of the planets on humanity. All of the humans and aliens, as we've seen this entire story, have been able to communicate solely because of this technique. This technique allows you to find people that are suited for each other or are connected. Even found Yuji this way. It literally, this technique was a homing beacon across the universe, finding the alien home planet of Sumeria all the way to Earth via harmony. And then not only that, but it's got insane combat applications like being able to turn ice into boiling water or vice versa, and being able to control the growth rate of things, being able to control like universal chaos and physical laws where someone can throw something at you, can just like literally distort space and move it out of the way. It is such an insane technique, like by far the greatest and most special grade technique we have ever seen. Nothing nothing comes close. Not Dark's Light, not Gojo's Infinity. Like, this is more special than every technique, every top 10 technique combined. Not that it's stronger. Like, I really don't get why people cannot differentiate the two. Like, some techniques are suited for combat. This technique is suited for combat, but it's not the strongest combat technique. It's just like insane how unbelievably hacks and broken this technique is, and its applications are like literally on a universal scale. Like, it's nuts how insane this technique is. Now, to continue this, Maru says, I cannot proceed on my own authority. Itadori Yuji, I want you to pass judgment on this harmony and to serve as witness, as the representative of Earth. I wondered at first, I thought maybe this was a moral statement, but considering as this statement is being made and they're both on different sides of the same coin, referring like one is the aliens, one is the humans, right in the middle we see the Kalyan is watching intensely with his third eye, meaning that maybe it's even a requirement that for this to happen there needs to be a human representative, and the Kalyan is the one making that rules. Yuji says, harmony, huh? What exactly does that mean? Maru says, I want to create a world where cursed spirits are no longer born, and Maru hitting the Nide wind like face right here. And just so you know, this right here, like everything we're about to see about, you know, no more cursed spirits and all that stuff, it is actually something I predicted in a video 4 or 5 months ago. I predicted this when chapter 2 of JJK Modulo coming out. I'll show you right on the screen, you can see I literally predicted that this plot twist was going to happen during chapter 2 of this story, like when the leaks of chapter 2 came out. So the fact that I actually called it and predicted, even I myself, I'm shocked, but I'm very proud of that, honestly. I've never had a theory that big that I made that early come true like that. Like, I'm really proud of myself with that one. The fact that, like, man, that actually called that. But just to continue, Yuji's a bit surprised and he says, that is, and he pulls out a book saying, My Big Brothers and the Unfulfilled Wish of Someone Who Wants to Care of Him, showing Yuki's soul book, and very touching, like very heartwarming, referring to Choso still, even 68 years later, like 68 years has gone by and he still refers to him as his big brother. Yuji's like, let's do it, and Maru takes the book and he says, like you, he is the key to harmony chosen by this technique. And the book vanishes, which again makes me think, is this like an actual projected world? Like, what is going on? Is this physically inside the mothership? I wonder, because the book just vanishes. Or is that a part of Maru's technique? I don't know what's going on. But anyway, Maru says, thanks. At first, let's meet him. It seems this place, and he removes blankets showing another room leading into the cursed realm. Like, the room that this goes into is actually the afterlife, or the place between the afterlife, like the border between, where it seems this place is a crossroads for every soul on Earth, and he appears to be one of its inhabitants. I don't know how the aliens managed to find a room like this in their mothership. Again, if it is specifically Maru and the Kalyan's technique, like physically taking Yuji and Maru's spiritual soul into this place, that would make more sense. But Yuji goes in and he has like a shocked expression, and Yuji laughs like, haha, what a familiar face, like what nostalgia. And we see in the next page, it's Mahito. And it is hilarious how Yuji's response is now, where Yuji said, you know, when he was 15 years old, 68 years ago, he said, you know, I'll kill you, come back again and I'll kill you, I'll hunt you down for the rest of my life. And I guess, like, dude, Yuji's been through so much, he's changed so much. Now he's 86 years old, like 68 years from that point, and he's probably so lonely and just happy to see an old face. He literally just laughs off like, wow, it's nostalgic, wow, like, just, it's funny. Like, not even an ounce of hatred at all from Yuji, like literally no reaction. And then in a cool page, we see Mahito say, Itadori Yuji, you're late, I've been waiting, because you died first, I couldn't, or unless you died first. So it seems like Mahito was specifically waiting for Yuji either A, to fight him in the afterlife, or specifically B, Mahito was waiting for Yuji to die, so then he would reincarnate. It seems like it's pretty ironic, but Mahito doesn't realize that Yuji is immortal, meaning Yuji is never going to die via aging. And Mahito still doesn't get it. He says, it took so long. Hey, how did you die? And then Mahito's shocked, like looking at him, 1 second, you're not dead, right? Realizing Yuji, first of all, is a goat, and second of all, like, he's not dead, he's still alive. And Mahito, like, genuinely has the fear of God in his eyes as Yuji says, I was just called here. Mahito's shocked as he falls backwards, saying, hey, what the hell? I've been waiting all this time. Genuinely nuts that Mahito has been waiting 68 years, and is probably going to be waiting much longer, and is about to be used as a technique farm. As Maru says, let's begin, as him and Yuji look upon a terrified Mahito on the ground, with the editor saying the goal of harmony of the world. So Yuji's basically trying to save the Earth, and this was a fantastic chapter. There's so many theories that come into it about, like, removing cursed spirits from the world, Dabura'S domain expansion, the deeper meaning with it. Honest to God, even Mahito's involvement and everything there. That I'm gonna have separate videos for, because this review is already so long. But let me know what you think about the comments down below. I thought this was a fantastic chapter. Be sure to leave a like on the video, it helps out so much. Thank you very much if you do. And of course, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe for a ton of consistent and quality JJK Modulo content just like this. If you love JJK Modulo, I promise you, you're not gonna regret subscribing to this channel. But hey, that's all from me, guys. Have a wonderful day and take care, everybody.